In this episode of the Tech John, we discuss Shopify's Cyber Monday outage, Disney World urging park goers to swap their smartphones for smart glasses, an MIT study showing AI can already replace us, and Netflix killing casting to newer Chromecast. Got all this and more for you in episode 206 of the Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, Georgia, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Happy birthday. My wife is turning a year older this week, so I want to make sure I get my shout out early. So happy birthday to you.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So we just had Thanksgiving. I asked y'all in the pre-show, how it went. I just asked you again so the listeners can hear. I'll start first. Just went up and hung out with my father-in-law and his girlfriend over at her house, and aunt and uncle came through, and my family, my youngest daughter actually came down from North Carolina, but not much other than that. What about y'all?
Had a little turkey. I was supposed to go out. I've been a little under the weather. I don't know if anybody can tell from my voice, but I'm still a bit congested. I think it's a sinus infection, so a bit under the weather. So my plans changed to staying under the covers, but I did make my annual pilgrimage to Radio City Music Hall to see the Rockettes on Friday. My mom and I have been going for probably 20 years at this point, up to New York to see the show. It's always a great show, just a family friendly, holiday thing to do. So I medicated myself and got on the turnpike and made that trek, but otherwise just a lot of rest and fluids.
Yeah. A lot of fluids. All right. I didn't do anything special. Just hung out with my family, close family. That's it. Like I said, I'm over the highways and the byways of the holidays. So it's like, if y'all want your boy to come through, y'all got to come through to see your boy. So all that to say, just had some couple friends, couple family members over. And that was it. We've got one of my son's friends. They are moving to another state at the end of this month of December, and he's bummed out about it because that's one of his good soccer buddies. So we invited his family over on Saturday, so we hung out with them. So that was the extent of my whole entire weekend.
That's pretty cool still.
Yeah.
But I, for some reason, decided, I'm not doing anything. Akron, Ohio is only 90 minutes from where I'm at, so it was just like a quick drive. I still did podcasting type stuff. And let me just tell you, it is so difficult to talk about tech news the day after Thanksgiving because there is none, at least not from the United States. There's international stuff that's going, but it's like your boy was out here struggling trying to find a story to podcast about on Friday morning. But this week has turned out to be a pretty decent week as far as tech is going. Terrance, you threw this on a rundown, but today Shopify is making some news because they had an hours-long outage on arguably one of their biggest days of the year. So what's going on with them?
Well, you said it. They were hit with an outage today. It wasn't all day, but it was a couple hours. But anybody who's anybody, if you've got an e-commerce website, 9 times out of 10, it's run on Shopify. Today is probably one of the biggest following Black Friday, Cyber Monday, today being one of the most popular time or most profitable times that online merchants make a lot of their money because it's Cyber Monday. And ideally on Black Friday, you go into the stores. On Cyber Monday, you go on the websites. So needless to say, a Shopify outage for 20 minutes can be detrimental to a brand's entire sales figures for the entire year. So when Shopify going down, it could be an issue. So in the story that I put, Shopify was hit with an outage on Cyber Monday. According to the quotes, they say, we have found and fixed an issue with our login authentication flow and are seeing signs of recovery for admin and POS, point of sale login issues now. The company says in an update as early as 2:31 Eastern Standard Time, and they say we are continuing to monitor recovery. So I just want to throw it out there. Did any of y'all do any Cyber Monday shopping, and did you notice that your favorite website was down? And I wonder if have you heard anybody else complaining that they ain't making no money if Shopify is down, which is like the merchant for payment processing and actual website design. So your whole website can be down more or less, not being able to collect, money from those sales.
Yeah, I wasn't doing any Cyber Monday. I mean, I'm blacking out this weekend, I guess, or whatever. But it's always interesting to me though. Like I can understand sort of how slash why something like this could happen on a day like this when servers are overloaded and all the rest of that.
Mhm.
However, this day is coming. So it
Mhm.
seems like it would have been, it would behoove Shopify to have run all the stress tests
Mhm.
and prepped for this
Mhm.
moment to make sure that, something like this didn't happen. I'd just be curious to, understand a little bit more about how this could have happened for them. Cause, if I was shopping today, um, unless that deal was really, 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 really good, I'm probably not going to go back to that website if the time I went it was down. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I'm probably like,
Mhm.
if I know that they having 75% off on something, that I really, really need, then and it's down, then I might try it again in an hour if I remember. But
Mhm.
likely I'm probably not going to go back to that website. So this could have been really devastating for a lot of small businesses, especially to have people not be able to get to their sites and not be able to transact business for any length of time because it only takes a short amount of time for people like they down, they ain't even, they wasn't even ready for Black Cyber Monday, and they ain't professional. You know how people get
Mhm.
looking for any
Mhm.
excuse to jet.
Mhm.
And so it I just would really love to understand a little bit more how something like this could happen when a company the size and scale of a Shopify should be expecting this type of traffic, for this to be one of the busiest shopping days of the year online, that whole thing.
Yeah, let me give you a little bit more information. The Down Detector website showed thousands of users reporting problems with Shopify today around a quarter after 1 Eastern, after roughly 4,000 cases were reported by users at its peak at 11 a.m. So just wanted to put that little tidbit in there that even though it reported 44,000 users, which kind of a drop in the bucket for the amount of people actually probably shopping, but that's just
Yeah,
reported,
that's
right?
Yeah,
reported. Like you
Like,
figure out
right.
how
right,
many
That
people
speaks
were
exactly
affected,
to
yeah, that didn't report. They just
right.
and it's Steph, to your point, a lot of people might think, oh, this is they can't even keep their website up. A lot of people just ain't even thinking at all. It's like I tried to go to this website, it wasn't there. It's kind of like if you want a
right.
hamburger and McDonald's is closed, that does not alleviate you wanting a hamburger. You just move on to the next burger spot. So
Drive to Burger
exactly.
King.
So I
Yeah.
think that a lot of folks like that, and I really do feel sorry for these small merchants, particularly the ones that are using like this. Well, everybody that was affected, I feel bad for all of them, but particularly the ones who are running like brick and mortars and are using like Shopify point of sale systems, and they're down. So you got people in your
Right,
store, and you can't even
right.
process the orders. Now, hopefully, they've got a backup to be able to still do something, but I would imagine that an overwhelming number of them do not. And a lot of these companies that are using Shopify, they're not the size of pennies. They're not the size of Dillard's or whatever store. Well, those
Right.
stores, they're so massive and they do so much online with their store that they actually have insurance. So if something like this happens on this day, at least the insurance is going to make them somewhat whole. I know a lot of these small vendors, like I can't afford it, to buy insurance just in case on one
And
day.
probably aren't technically
Right.
savvy enough to know that they need backup. You assume you're paying all this money for this system to be able to transact, to your point about, in person and brick and mortar. Like you might have an old square in a drawer somewhere, you know what I mean, that you can like pull out, but most people don't have I would say a sophisticated backup
Mhm.
system. So you still scrambling, you still got customers frustrated and saying, you know what, never mind, I'll stop back, or and
Right.
never do. And it's just like that you gotta, you don't have you have seconds to get sales, and those sales could be the difference between, staying in business and not for smaller merchants. So it just like, I understand things happen. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to come down too hard on Shopify because shit happens. Tech fails all the time, but I don't know. I don't, it just on the busiest online e-commerce day of the year, I would have thought you would have been better
It
prepared.
seems like this is the day. This is Black Friday weekend. So starting last Friday through today, that's their Super Bowl. It's like you think you would be
Right.
ready on any, like when you think about, like we've had a lot of major outages. We had AWS outage, we had a Cloudflare outage, all within like the last month or 6 weeks, and these are massive outages. But those outages for Cloudflare and for AWS, they were just regular days of the week. Now, from a scale standpoint, they were ginormous compared to what the Spotify thing is. But it wasn't like they went out on Black Friday through Cyber Monday. It's like they just had outages that affected Earth. This for Shopify could be devastating to them, because I know that if this is my Super Bowl day, I can't process orders. That money may not ever come back to me. I'm now looking at, do I have to find somebody else to do business with? And the problem is that
Yeah.
somebody else could literally have exactly the same system, because if the internet goes out or the systems that are running on the internet goes out, you can't do jack. It ain't like we back in the day where they, we're all old enough to remember that they had the actual carbon credit card swipe where you can put the
Where you
card
had
in there
that,
and you get that joker. Nah,
right. You
I
get
ain't
the
seen them
little,
in years. So
man. And for just a little bit more context, the CNBC article that Terrance posted says Shopify says it handles more than 10% of all e-commerce transactions in the United States. That is not a little bit of transactions. You know what I mean? Like, more than 10% for one company is quite a significant amount of people that rely on this platform to handle their business. So Shopify, I'm gonna need you to do better. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
but people ain't not spending money though. A little tidbit in this story, and I'll leave it at that. Is American shoppers spent 11.8 billion on Black Friday, marking a 9% jump from last year. And according to Adobe Analytics, estimate that U.S. shoppers will spend 14.2 billion today, 6.3% jump from last year. So people ain't not spending money. The question is, are they gonna spend money with you with your little funky
yeah.
website?
Right. That can't handle because Shopify don't know how to act right on
Mhm.
Cyber Monday. I know. That's crazy.
So, Steph, you stuck this story in here about what's going on at Disney World specifically, and I'm like, what are they talking about? But the Disney is working with Meta AI to try to make. And you wrote this to make to make Disney an even happier place. But they basically want you to replace your smartphone with these Meta glasses while you walking around the park. And it's like
Right.
and it's not like they're providing them for you. They want you to buy these jokers.
Which is the crazy part. I mean, the president of Walt Disney Imagineering, Bruce Vaughn, said in a YouTube clip, "You're there together with friends and family and people that you care about, and every time you have to look down at a device or a phone, it breaks that spell." So, Disney does do quite a bit, to create this environment where you are delighted and amazed, and you walk in there and they want you to be transported to another place. And I can see where any more influencers, and there are specific Disney influencers now that go there and create content and different stuff like that. I can see where that would get to be a bit obnoxious, and ruin the experience, not only for you but for everybody around you that has to deal with you on your phone. But I don't know that this is necessarily the um, solution for that, for somebody to have smart glasses on their face where they're engaging with these glasses now, in the same way that they would have engaged with their phones, but they don't have to look down, they don't have to sort of stop what they're doing to get information. And the way Disney, I think, envisions this is somebody sees something in a gift shop, and they can ask Meta AI, does this come in a size small for my kid? And maybe the glasses will tell them yes, but you have to get it from a different gift shop, and here's how you get there. That type of thing. So they want you to kind of stay engaged with buying stuff. And hey, I need ride. The other example they gave was like, hey, did you know this particular ride only has a 5-minute wait right now? And here's how you get there in the park, which could be actually, a pretty decent use case for something like this. But, again, if you're not going to provide guests the glasses, what are we even doing? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand if they're not providing you with glasses when you walk in, or as an add-on with, a ticket purchase or whatever, you get to rent these glasses for the duration of the time you're there. Then I'm not sure how this is going to work if they're not actually going to provide the glasses.
Well, so Disney, I ain't, your boy. Disney, I ain't fooling me not one bit, right? Because they say, and I quote, every time you have to look down at a device or a phone, it breaks that spell. What spell, do you ask?
The Disney spell.
So to give me to make sure I understand this, you want me to break the spell of me looking down at my phone to keep the spell that you cast on me to keep me in the
Absolutely.
park. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you say? If you wanted to, like you
That's
said, Stephanie, you wanna do
absolutely
that,
right.
you need to give me the glasses and keep me in the spell. Why I'm gonna pay $300-$400 on top of how ridiculously expensive Disney parks are to stay in your spell. I'm like, I'm gonna need you to give me a little bit more. What's the word? Yeah, grease my palms a little bit more than saying, oh, you can't use your phone, but here are these glasses that you can buy with a markup. Because I'm pretty sure Disney's gonna mark them up. They ain't gonna give them to me at retail, like me going into Meta
But
and order them online. So I think it's just curious how I think it's funny how Disney wants me to break the spell of my smartphone to continue their own spell at extra money. Like I got to pay extra money to stay under your spell. No, I'll just look at my phone.
yeah,
Thank you.
I'm imagining maybe they allow you to rent the glasses, but that's probably going to be couple $100 per day per person.
Per visit.
So
Right.
you a family of 5, you easily are adding $1,000 a day to not have the spell broken of looking at a phone.
That's what they don't want to break the spell
This
of
is
my
what I
pockets.
imagine though. I know what they're saying you're going to be able to do is like, oh, here's a wait line that's only 5 minutes, and if you head over here, you can get in line and go ride the ride, and that's cool. Give me that on my phone too, because you could just as easily do that on my phone. I can look at it and have the augmented reality stuff on my phone and hold my phone up and looking at something, and you've got everything popping up. But here's what I imagine. Y'all remember that movie with Tom Cruise? I can't think of the name of it. Minority Report.
Minority
There we go.
Report.
And he's walking down the street, and there's just ads just jumping out at him as he's walking down.
Everything just
And it's
pops
like
up.
that's
Yeah.
what I am envisioning when you're wearing these Meta glasses, because it didn't sound like that they were talking about the ones that just have a camera and it's just audio. It sounds like this is the one that got the little screen and it's showing you
No,
stuff.
it's going to be total
So these
augmented
are the
reality.
expensive ones. And
Yeah.
to your point, Terrance, it's like what spell is y'all trying to keep me under is that you don't want me to break, because it's like that type of immersion just seems like they can sell you more stuff. And it's Facebook that they're doing this with, it's Meta that they're doing this with, and it is Disney, two companies that both get enormous
Keep
amounts
they
of
hand in your
they get enormous amounts of data
every
on you.
which way. But
So they've got all this
yeah.
data, and that, like I said, I'm just imagining a Minority Report, because now they know you, and they know that you like cotton candy. So when you're near the cotton candy place, it's just like giving you, hey, the line in the cotton candy kiosk is really short. You can go get you some right now, and here's a 10% coupon if you go right now. I just see that kind of stuff happening.
And that's the thing. Oh yeah, you're going to be inundated, absolutely inundated, because everything you look at, everything you observe through
Hmm.
these glasses is fair game now.
Hmm.
So literally anything you're looking at in the park, any like they probably are going to be able to take some biometric information and track your mood and your heartbeat and your blood. Like I honestly like the idea that the level of manipulation that would be possible when you have these glasses on. Like, because that's the thing, Rob. Yeah, you just glance at a turkey leg because you know the turkey legs at Disney are popular. You glance at a turkey leg. You know what? Turkey legs are on sale for 15 minutes in the West cafeteria. It's just like literally everything you observe in your eyeballs is fair game now for them, and that's just that, like, to have that sort of, it's an assault really on your senses, on your consciousness, on everything that like I'm trying to pay
Hmm.
attention to my kid that they don't run off, and I'm seeing all these different things just 24/7 while I have these glasses on. That just seems so intrusive and invasive, and you know I don't feel like they would be judicious with their use of the technology to not overwhelm you when you have
As
the glasses on.
as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
So let me talk completely on the other side of my mouth. These Meta glasses, they're pretty slick. You got to admit,
You talking
in
about in
general,
general?
Meta, I think, has got it right with the form factor. They look like regular glasses. You wouldn't, if you're just glancing at somebody across the room, unless you see a white light on their glasses, you wouldn't necessarily know that they are something special. They just look like glasses. And I think that over time, they will look more and more like glasses. I think that's cool. What I don't think is cool is that Disney, you now are going to use these glasses to send me more
Don't do it.
advertising.
Don't fall
I
for it.
know that you cannot have one without having the other. So this is not really Disney doing anything nefarious that every other company is not going to try to do. It's just the fact that they're the first ones to come out and say that they're doing something like this, and we're going to give them gas
Right.
for it. My gut tells me it won't just be Disney. It'll be everybody will want this
No,
to
it's yeah.
exist for them, to where you're wearing these glasses like, hey, as you're walking past Bath, a bed, what is it, Bed Bath, no, Bath and Body Works. We got candles on sale. Come on in. Here's a coupon for you.
And the way the way our government and this capitalist society is going, we may all be required to wear these glasses or have some sort of mechanism where we have to see this augmented reality all the time and be sold things. I'm like, it just yeah. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
That's a whole nother story right there. That's a whole show. That's literally an episode
Mhm.
of the Tech Giant. If we talking about,
Black Mirror,
that's like I'm
an
thinking it's
episode,
like,
an episode
yeah,
of
it's
the
like when
Black
you
Mirror.
have
That's
to
what it
actually get this
is.
advertising in your eyeballs. So, um, I wanted to move on to talk about AI. AI is the thing. It's crazy. Since we've last talked, ChatGPT 3.5, which is the thing that kind of started it 3 years ago. It is now 3 years old. It celebrated its 3-year-old birthday. Now, OpenAI was a company long before that, going back into like the 2019, 2020 or whatever. This stuff was being worked on, but we didn't talk about it. It wasn't like in our general lexicon about everybody talking about LLMs like we are today. But this story I wanted to bring up is about a recent MIT study, and it indicates that artificial intelligence is already capable. So this is not something that's going to happen in the future. This is something that it can do right now. It is already capable of replacing 11.7% of the entire U.S. labor market. That potentially could affect $1.2 trillion in wages across finances, health care, and professional services. So I want to get your take on this. It's like the way that this study was done. They use like some really cool indexes and metrics and stuff that they were able to pull this, but they're not saying that, hey, this is something that could happen. They're saying that this could happen right now. We could go out in these jobs based off of they looked at like over 30,000 different actual jobs across like 3,000 different sectors. And they're like, yep, we can replace this with AI. Yep, we can replace that with AI. Not tomorrow, but this could be done today. So I just wanted to get you guys' take on, how are you feeling about what AI is doing? And literally, it seems like just such a very short time. In 3 years, we've moved from, we didn't even talk about it like we talk about it today, to it can replace almost 12% of people who work in the United States.
Well, it could. Again, we'd have to look at specifically what jobs, are they replacing? And then is it like successfully replace them or just replace them, right? Because if you're thinking about, say, you call customer service to ask a question about a product that you bought or whatever the case may be, half of the time, those are already a version of a chatbot. Now, it's not a LLM or anything like that. But at the same time, you'd be hard pressed to get online or pick up the phone and talk to anybody human nowadays. You got to go through the chat bot first to get to the person, right?
Representative.
Right. Nowadays, you don't even know you talking to a robot until they stutter, and you be like, "Wait a minute, is this AI?" Right? So I say that to say, are they judging how well they do the job, or is it just, oh well, AI could replace customer service? We all know that's a crock because it does it terrible. So that's what I mean. My questions, it's like, yeah, yes, you're probably right that this study ran, the results could possibly be that AI could already take, replace 11 points, whatever the number is. My question is like, how well can it do that though? Is it passable enough, or is it just like we did it, but not really like applying it to our everyday use yet? I think we got a longer way to go for that.
Well, it's looking at the
Right.
iceberg index, which models 151 million U.S. Workers, and it pinpoints their routines, their functions. It's literally looking at not just this is your job title, but what are you actually doing in it. And it's running that against, here are the available large language models, here's the available AI that exists right now. Which of these positions, these job functions, could be displaced by AI with current technology? So even and this is
Right.
a really long article where this is being talked about, and they do make the point that it's like, well, it could happen. It's not that it would happen, and even in this way, and there may be new jobs that would need to be created in order for AI to go and facilitate all this. But the question, and where I really wanted to get with you guys, let's say that this, they're saying 11.7%. Let's say it's a third of that. Let's say it's a fourth of that. Let's just go and say that it's 3% of all U.S. jobs could be replaced by AI right now. Um, is there an existential crisis that we should be looking at? Is this something that we should be really concerned about? Should lawmakers be saying that, hey, we need to retrain literally large portions of the United States to be able to do new jobs of the future, because the old jobs that they were doing, we're going to do it with robots and with AI.
Well, I think, sorta. I think it would be my answer there. But I think this particular project is the thing that is going to be the impetus for lawmakers to make those decisions. And that was the thing that sort of jumped out. I mean, the idea that AI is replacing jobs, that I think
Surprise.
that's a splashy headline that gets a
It
lot of
works.
clicks. I'm not gonna call it clickbait because it's the truth. AI is going to replace some jobs, but the thing that jumped out to me about this particular article was the academic rigor of the study and the modeling that discovered all of these things. So, to your point, Rob, the index treats 151 million workers as individual agents, each tagged with skills, tasks, occupation, and location. It maps more than 32,000 skills across 923 occupations in 3,000 counties, then measures where current AI systems can already perform those skills. So down to the zip code is the way they describe how they did this analysis, and I was just very impressed and encouraged by the fact that this type of research is still being done, especially under this current administration, because we know that this type of science is not something that is embraced by the folks in Washington currently. So the idea that we can get this level of granularity around an issue that is going to affect millions of jobs, like a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. That's not a question. We to your point, Terrance, how they going to lose it or how effective the AI that replaces them is going to be is neither here nor there. Some people are going to lose their jobs. So the idea that we have this information to tell us, in a level of specificity that can get some folks retrained fairly quickly, or just an understanding of where that retraining is going to need to be is very encouraging to me. So, to answer your question, Rob, even if it was 3%, if it's 11%, whatever the percentage was, I think something like this is critical in figuring out what those skills are going to be that are going to be lost, and what we're going to need to compensate for and retrain for, where governments are going to need to put their money, what sectors, down to the county, down to the zip code. Okay, we're going to need to go in this particular neighborhood and really infuse some resources so that these people can get retrained or whatever. So I'm encouraged by the fact that this work is even being done in the first place.
All right, makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still what is it under on it, because there's a story, like a side note, unrelated, but it is. There was a story that I clicked on in this story that says the Michael Burry, who is the guy who is the Big Short of, I don't know if y'all
Mm-hmm.
remember, yeah, the guy, the main character of the Big Short. His next Big Short is AI is a bubble. So we
Oh
got
yeah, that's what
a little
everybody's
bit of
yeah.
a little bit of
Everybody's saying that
conflicting,
now too. Yeah.
everybody's got a little conflicting interest, not conflicting interest, conflicting opinions on where we're going with AI. We just read a story that MIT says AI is going to take 11.7 jobs. This financial
Old
guy
boy
said,
said it's a bubble and it's
Yeah.
about to
right,
burst, and we all
right.
gonna go back to
Where do y'all
yeah.
fall on that? Do you think that this ain't nothing to worry about? We got our panties in a bunch,
No,
or
No.
should we be
no,
very
I don't
concerned
think
about this?
you can't ignore it. You can't
Well,
ignore it, but you also
right.
don't need to be. The sky's
Mhm.
not necessarily falling either.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
there's somewhere in the middle. There was I don't think it was linked in this article. I think I was just reading something else, AI and job related, and the way they did it. They said to use, and I thought it was really interesting, and I'm probably going to do it for my job. But you can actually use one of these tools, Chat GPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever, and ask it what your job will look like in the next 5 years, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years. How will AI impact your job? And what do you need to do to prepare yourself as far as reskilling or training or whatever to be able to compete? So like let AI do the work for you, write that prompt. Like I am a tech journalist and content creator and yada, yada, yada. And I do all these things. How is AI going to impact what I do? Explain it to me like you're a deep analytical thinker. I don't just want, anecdotal things, but actually use artificial intelligence to help AI proof what you do. And if it comes back and says, nah, your job is going to be completely, consumed by AI, then that's when you need to get on the stick. But I think it's incumbent for all of us to do that exercise to see if we are safe or not, quote unquote
I
safe or
was
not.
literally watching a video by the sister that she got laid off from her HR job. I think she said like 10 months ago. And she says like
Mhm.
I took like a month to just, cry and, be upset. But then like so after about 4 weeks, I was like, all right, we got to get back in it. And she became very aware. She said, now I knew it was a problem working in HR, but I didn't know how much of a problem it was. And she was talking about how she was just submitting application after application, hundreds of applications to get. I think she said she submitted over 500 applications and literally only had like 11 interviews. And she was either told she
That's
was
crazy.
overqualified or she just didn't meet the qualifications that she was looking for. So she decided that, okay, I need to figure this out. So everybody keeps talking about AI, and AI is arguably one of the reasons why she felt like she got laid off, is they were starting to do some things that they just didn't need her to manage anymore. AI was able to do it. So she
Hmm.
started learning how to use AI. So she said, I didn't know anything about it. So I literally said, okay, well, let me just go to ChatGPT and just ask it, how do I use you effectively? And it said, do X, Y, and Z. So I did X, Y, and Z. And she says the way that her brain works is that when she is given instruction on something. Okay, I want to go deeper. Well, how do I do this and how do I do that? And it got to the point that over several months, she became an expert at prompt writing, specifically prompt writing to use ChatGPT and other things to help her determine where she had gaps in her skills. So she was able to go and then put all this data in here, use the actual AI to determine what her gaps and skills were. But as she's doing this, she's now starting to write about the things that she can do with AI. And she basically built a new career for herself because now she's gotten so good with using AI to determine where the gaps are for people who are looking for work. She's now consulting with these people who are looking for work to use AI to help them find jobs. And like the video was very long. I skipped to the end, but the happy ending at this is that she basically has now built a consulting firm. And this is all literally within like months time. This is being built in real time, where she is now going out and consulting with folks. And what's happening is that when these people that are doing this, they aren't necessarily getting, as soon as you work with her, you now get people calling you, say, you got to come work for us. She's not saying that. What she is saying is that the opportunities that you are finding yourself available for, in the way that you're now positioning your LinkedIn and your resume and everything else, and having the interview skills and all that kind of stuff, you're seeing, if you're doing these things as compared to not doing these things, you're getting callbacks at a much higher rate than she submitted over 500 resumes and got like 11 callbacks over the course of 9 or 10 months. So I thought that was pretty cool. But it's like, using AI to figure out how to get into the workspace. And it's just funny that the use of AI was one of the things that AI was saying, right, hey, you need to do this. So the question is it like a self-fulfilling prophecy? It's like, hey, I want to be here for a long time. So if you learn how to use me effectively, then we can both win. That's kind of what it felt like at the end of it.
And that's the thing. You gotta, it's evolution, man. You know what I mean? Like, innovation is innovation. You have to adapt or die, basically. And we are all going to have to figure out how to adapt.
Your favorite person, Elon Musk, he basically said that within the next 20 years, so well before 2050, that we will be to a point to where people just won't have to work anymore, that it'll be all AI.
I saw that quote and I was like, so what are we, how are we going to make money?
He watched too many movies.
Here's the thing.
Right. This is what I was like, that was the most asinine comment I have ever heard. Let me tell you why. We won't even have to work anymore. Let me tell you why
it is such. Because he's saying that money will no longer be a thing. It will be like, he didn't say this, I'm saying it'll be like living in Star Trek, to where you don't need money for anything. You just work because you like to work. It's not because you need it to have like basic.
So how are we going to get stuff?
I don't know.
How are we going to have stuff?
But it's just interesting that the dude that is trying to be the richest person that has ever walked on earth, he literally wants to be the first trillionaire. Out of the other side of his mouth.
That's how out of touch he is.
The other side of his mouth, he's saying, but you know what? We really won't need money. And it's like, well, if we don't need money, why don't you not take $1 trillion from the company that you are the CEO of?
That is how I read that, and I was like, this is the most asinine thing I have ever heard. You won't have to work anymore. Okay,
so, like, that sounds. What are we gonna do? Is gonna be like, oh, cool. We don't need to make money anymore. It's like, when is that ever gonna happen?
No, yeah, that was ridiculous. I was like, you've completely lost touch with reality if you could fix your mouth to say some nonsense like that.
But yet, we still giving this dude gobs and gobs and gobs and gobs of cash.
And attention that he does not deserve.
I tried. I do own some Tesla stock. I have not sold every last bit of it, so had to vote, do this proxy vote a few weeks back. I voted that no, he should not be getting $1 trillion to continue to run the company. Even though the goals that he would have to hit to get there are kind of astronomical. It's like, no, why are you even putting that down on paper? But overwhelmingly, people said, oh no, let's give this one dude $1 trillion. $1 trillion. That's just nuts to me. You know what is also nuts to me? The fact that Netflix is messing around my Chromecast. Steph, I know you saw this one. And I told you got to be quicker than that. I was on this one, but let me tell the story here. So, Netflix, they literally, I believe it was on November 10th. They killed the casting from phones to newer Chromecast. So if you have a newer Chromecast that actually has a remote control, or if you have something like the Google TV streamer, I've actually I've actually got one here for people who are watching. You can see I'm holding it up on the screen right now. If you're using one of these, it's not going to allow you to cast from Netflix. Now, what Netflix is saying is that they're doing this because they can't control the user interface, the user experience. They think that you're going to get a degraded experience by not using the app built into the device and using a remote control, as compared to just streaming it from your phone using Chromecast or Miracast or things like that. But this really, really irks me, because one of the things that I love about having Chromecast everywhere is that I can just, whatever is on my phone, I can just sling it to the TV, and whatever was on my phone that I was watching, I'm not watching that on the television. And Netflix is saying, nah, we good. We're not doing that anymore. And I didn't realize this, but they actually did this with, what is it called? Apple, where you can like cast Apple stuff. There's a name for it. AirPlay. They
AirPlay.
killed AirPlay
Yeah,
back in
yeah.
2019. I didn't even actually pick up on that because I don't use Apple devices. But yeah, they killing it on the Chromecast as well, or in Google TVs and things that actually support the Google Cast platform.
Go ahead, Terrance.
No, I was gonna say everybody wants your attention. Same thing with the first story we talked about. Disney getting mad at people using their smartphones. It's like, no, man, we want to have your attention 24/7. Same thing with this story. Netflix is like, nah, man, we don't want you casting to. No, we want to keep you in our app. And when you're in our app, we can do special things. We can collect your data. We can say how long you watch, whatever. They may not be able to do that if you casting it to the TV. Now that data has went someplace else. Or I don't know specifically. My guess is Netflix wants to keep you in their app so they can track you, data, whatever the case may be. Something that they're losing by allowing people to cast their whatever their content, whatever they're watching, to Chromecast, to whatever. It's it ain't jiving. So they're like, nah, we taking that out because we need that data.
And it's like the thing that struck me about this was that the security of it all, and not allowing, forcing people to have to log in different instances, because they talked a lot about being in hotel rooms, being in Airbnbs, where now you actually have to physically put your username and password into these televisions to use Netflix. And you do your best to remember to log out when you leave, and all, but you don't always do that. And just the level of security, flakiness, if you will, for lack of, the word I'm thinking of escapes me, but the level of the lack of security for the um benefit of more data, or whatever their reasoning is, to your point, Terrance, whether they want more data or whatever. Like, I don't think that trade-off is worth it. That's what the point I'm trying to make. I don't think the trade-off of forcing people to have to log in to any system that has its own physical remote control, instead of being able to do the more secure process of casting. I think it's shameful that Netflix traded that level of security for whatever information they're gleaning from forcing these people to log into these devices, manually, or whatever. I think that trade-off is shameful to me. They shouldn't make people make that trade-off.
I am not a fan of this. Like I said, I literally just bought a device. One of the reasons I bought the device is because I have a very old Chromecast plugged into a TV that no longer supports certain apps. Like I want to say Peacock doesn't work on this very old. It's like it's either the first or second generation Chromecast. So I said, okay, well, let me buy the new hotness to replace that.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the major things that I do is that I don't just keep logged into all these applications at this particular location. It's like I don't live there. It's a house that I own in another part of the state, and I'm there maybe 8-10 times a year. So it's warrant. I still got electricity and internet and that kind of stuff, but I just don't have all these apps logged in, because
Right.
because I
why
don't want
would
to pay
you?
for access to Netflix in a location that's outside of my zip code, because now they're gating this. I can't use
Mm.
my Netflix account here on another TV for too long. You only can do it for a certain amount of time.
Well, and that's another
So
reason they're doing this as
they're
well.
not
That's the
saying
other
that, but
flip
it's like, but
side.
that seems like that's one of the things that they are actually putting in place here. It's like you're trying to keep me from streaming from my phone to a device in a location that you're not necessarily getting paid for. Now my phone,
Right.
Netflix, I can go for weeks without actually having to be at home to actually use it. It'll work for a long time. My daughter, who goes to school in another state, she has Netflix on her phone, and she casts from her phone to her television in another state, and it's fine.
Well, she did.
At least she did. It's like I
She ain't
have
doing it
to
no
ask
more.
her.
She
Yeah, that,
did.
that may not be working for her anymore. But that was like a thing. When I go to hotels, I would much rather just cash from my phone than have to
And
log
that's the
in.
thing. I'm not going to log into Netflix at a
Mhm.
hotel. I'm not going to do that. So, is it worth it to Netflix to have me not do it at all versus casting
Well,
and
no, go ahead. I
no,
was gonna
that's what
say,
I'm saying. Is it worth it? Because like I would imagine because I'm logged into Netflix on my phone, I still have the app. I'm still
mhm,
casting. You're still getting
mhm,
something. Is it that much more valuable to have me logging in versus casting because I'm not doing that. I'm just
right.
not going to do because I know me. I know I'm probably not going to remember to log out and I just don't want the hotel now has access to that information. The hotel's ISP has access to that information. Like, nah, it's not that
Mhm.
deep. It's not that
But
it's just Netflix. You know what I mean? So
So
I don't understand. They're throwing out the baby with the bathwater in this.
the question is, will we stop? Will we again? Will we stop saying, you know what, Netflix, you too much, man. You forcing me to do this and that and the third, and I got to jump through hoops now. Now I need to bring a Chromecast with me every time I travel. Forget Netflix. Are we doing that? Time will tell.
I know for me, I already travel with a Chromecast. I just keep one in my primary carry-on luggage. I keep one in my laptop backpack. And I've got another one somewhere around, because it's like I was one of those people that I put Chromecast on all of my television, so I would have one interface, and it works the same way whenever my parents come through. It's the same thing. No matter what TV they watch, you just use the same thing, in order to watch television. So I will probably do that, but I would imagine that a lot of people haven't. And I think that Netflix is a data company, if anything. They know what their user
Mhm.
base does.
Every
So
company
so
is
so
a
yeah,
data
so they
company.
are probably sitting there figuring out, what, there are a lot of people like Rob and Steph that they're gonna be hot about this. Are they going to cancel their account? Am I going to cancel Netflix over no longer being able to stream to my Google TV streamer? Um, no. Why? Because although I do stream, and it is something that I do fairly regularly, maybe even more so than the average person, because I'll be watching a YouTube video and I just want to see it on a bigger screen, and I'll just hit the cast button and it's just there. It's quicker than having to open up the app, search for the video that I'm looking for, open up the video, and then start playing it over. Even though it'll keep this, it'll keep, I'm logged into the same account, it'll keep the place and all that kind of stuff. It's just you got to jump through hoops. Casting is just you hit a button and it's just now playing on whatever bigger device you're looking at. I do that a lot. So I will miss that. So, like I said, is it going to make me no longer use Netflix? No. Netflix is arguably the most used streaming service that I have. It's right up, Hulu is close second, but I
But
use both of them a lot.
are they okay with not getting any data versus getting some data? Because like I said,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna log into Netflix at a hotel. I'm not gonna log into that like at Airbnb, depending on how long I'm staying there. Like when I went to Martha's Vineyard, I was there for a week. So yeah, I had to log in so we could watch because the guy didn't have that many cable channels or there just weren't that many channels at all to watch. So it was like, yeah, let me log into Netflix so I could do. But more often than not, I'm not logging in. If I got to sit there with my remote and press around to my username and password, I'm not
Mhm.
doing that.
And
So is it worth it to Netflix to not get any data because I'm not going to log in
Right.
versus whatever little bit of data you could have gotten because I am logged into my app and I'm casting it to the screen. So you're still getting something. So is nothing better than something in this instance?
And to me, I'm out of here. I'm nothing, right? Because there have been times now. The next step that I'm noticing TVs or hotels specifically are doing is they're not even allowing you to plug in your own Chromecast. Like Rob, I have a Roku. We have anytime we go on a family trip, take my little Roku stick, plug it into the back of a TV, and then that is logged into Apple TV Plus and Netflix
Right.
and yada yada yada. Last one or two times I've been to a hotel, I went to the back, plug that thing in, did not, like, literally it says not allowed to plug in yada 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 yada. I was like, all right, I'll just be on my phone like this on the
Yeah,
bed.
it's interesting that some hotels are doing that, and because hotels they're preventing you from using HDMI to plug in whatever you want and then use it, just set that input and then watching that content. There are other hotels that are like, you know what? Let's lean into this. Let's let our patrons actually do this. So they're actually setting it up to where they now have not a USB. They have actually no, it is USB ports, like in a little dongle right there under the television, and there is a HDMI that you can plug your stream stick into. They're making it easier for you to do. I wonder if people start to see
As they
other hotels
should,
start to
because
do that.
that's good
They're like,
customer
hey,
service.
we don't want to force our patrons to watch only what we have contracts with, because when you go into the hotel, it's like they almost always have Netflix. Netflix is always there. They usually will have YouTube. They often will have Amazon Prime. But beyond that, I can't think of I don't remember going and being in a hotel and seeing on the actual hotel system, seeing Peacock or Tubi or any of these other systems. It's generally the ones that they have worked out contracts with, and these are the big ones. It's like I said, it's Netflix, maybe Apple TV I've seen a couple times, but it's not everything. So let me go in there and plug my, let me go in and plug in my Switch. Let me go in and plug in my Xbox if I
It's
carry
like
it.
you making enough money on that nightly rate. You don't need my data
Listen,
and everything else and all of make it easy for me. Come on.
enough is never enough. And that's gonna be
Clearly.
our downfall. That's gonna be our downfall.
Yeah,
Too much
I
of
saw this.
everything.
I was
Clearly.
not happy because it's like this adversely affects my use case, so much so that I'm probably going to return this Google TV streamer, because if I can't use it to to sling to cast from my device, well, let me just go buy an older Chromecast, because I'll get like a Chromecast like 2 versions back that does not have the remote. And you can here's the interesting thing: on those Chromecasts, you can still do it. On the older ones, it's just the ones that have remotes. So it's like, okay, well, let me return this. I can probably, for what this thing costs, I got a good deal on it. It literally came in the mail today, y'all. It's like, it came UPS. It was sitting here this morning. When I went to go check stuff about 10 o'clock this morning, it just got dropped off. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, because no sooner that I am picking the thing up, I'm now looking at the news, and it's like, Netflix, is y'all serious?
And it's useless. And it's
For that
now
one use
useless.
case. Now, there's so many other things that I can do with this that I have to think about it. But the one thing I can't do, that I know that I do a lot, is cast Netflix. The main thing. So I have to determine, do I want to keep this, or do I want to return it and get some older Chromecast that are going to probably be good for another 3, 4, 5 years?
Yeah, this was a bad look in customer service for Netflix.
Yeah,
For
like
real.
I said, to say it's a money grab might be harsh, but I kind of feel that way, because the other thing too is that you have to have.
It's always a
They're
money
only going to allow
grab.
you to stream,
It ain't
period, if
harsh.
you
It's the
have the
truth.
no ads plan. If you are getting ads, you're not going to be able to cast at all. And it's like, for real. So I can't watch the content on the big screen because I'm not going to pay you to not have ads on my content.
All
rules everything around me.
All roads point to stop watching all that crap.
Cream, baby, cream.
So, y'all, this was a fun episode of the Tech John. I believe we are at episode 205. It's crazy. We've been doing the show for well over 4 years now. But yeah, episode 205 is in the books. Folks, I do want to let you know that we've got some merch for you. We've got our masks, on mugs, on aprons, on hats, on hoodies, on sweatshirts, on all kind of stuff. So if you head over to thetechjohn.com/shop, you will hit our store where you can order all kinds of stuff. And here's the thing, for any of you that do actually order something, if you get a hat, if you get a hoodie, if you get a sweatshirt, whatever the case is, take a picture of yourself with it. We've actually had some of our patrons that have been doing this. Some of the folks who are following the show have actually been sending us pictures, and we post those on our social. So it's just a little bit that helps us keep bringing this content to you the way that we bring it to you. But like I said, if you are interested in getting something with our logo on it, just head right on over to techjohn.com/Patreon. So Tech Life Steph, with all that being said, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph, or you can head to my website at stephaniehumphrey.com and sign up for my newsletter.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHA.
And I am at All Things Robb Dunewood, and we're also at All Things at the Tech John, the Tech JAWN. So come holler at us however you holler, and we'll meet again in a week's time. Peace.